but everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing its...
The Tampa market. Spiral rise.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
All right, good morning, family. Once again, good morning. Good morning. This is Frank. I am your host. Welcome to the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series, aspect of WCC, hosted every Friday. So welcome again this morning. Today's topic is on Burkina Faso. So recently, I think that was last week, we heard that Burkina Faso had a coup d'etat where the former president was overthrown, and now we have a new transitional government from the coup d'etat. But the topic here is what to expect from Burkina Faso coup d'etat based on what we are experiencing in Mali. Of course, again, Burkina Faso is another French colonial nation. So we have seen over the years what happened in Mali, and then first of all, it happened in Guinea, and then it happened in Mali, where the French army were taken out. And then we also saw that in Niger, last week we spoke about it. And then this week, again, we have seen another one in Burkina Faso. And by the way, this is how independent Africa started, okay? This is how independent Africa started when Africa was fighting for independence to gain independence from the colonialists and so forth. So this is what happened, but this time around is France. So all the nation, I'm not going to say Francophone nation, all the nation in Africa that speak French, that was colonized by France and still maintained by France, they all are now coming together, or not coming together, but recognizing that their problem is actually caused by France. And so they are doing everything necessary to see how they can liberate those nations. However, for now, what we can really explain is that how those coups, are being carried on. Is it being undermined, or the coup are being carried on by just African, or who are actually behind those coups? Because as we all know, this current time period, even though Africa is standing out, and but a lot of things are going on the African continent. The issue here is the new form of foreign influence or Western influence or European influence on the African continent. Is it by war, to keep Africa in a war zone, just how they did it to the Middle East, to the extent that today there is no peace in the Middle East, as we know what peace is. So is it, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out things. Are they trying to make Africa like how they have made the Middle East, where there is no peace? Because the only way you can maintain the African continent is to put the African continent in a form of violence, okay? In a form of violence, relative peace, all right? Are they trying to do the same thing so that they can continue the exploitation of the African continent, all right? So these are some of the things we're going to be looking at. So even though we have coup d'etat in Burkina Faso, to some extent, we can say the citizens are standing out against the French and want the French out, right? But equally so, what we're going to read here today is a sense of, in my belief, that unless the African leaders or the African continent in totality come together, right? And if they just said that and leave it with let's say with Burkina Faso, just how the rest of the African nation don't care about what is happening in Niger, what is happening in Mali, the African continent is going to be in chaos. And that's how I believe the West want it, okay? Where there is no peace, where the African continent is going to be in, how they call it, destabilized, all right? And then in our way, they can manage to carry on their exploitation, all right? And that is why the WCC is always there to bring our discussion and to give it to the African leaders or the African authority. Because for some of the situation we're in right now, we are not in authority, right? We don't really have that much influence, okay, to make decision. But we can bring a solution and we can bring out what is to happen, all right, and present it to those in power and to those who have the authority or the ability to bring the African continent together or to bring the African nations together and to provide peace on the African continent. So before we get into it, I just want to welcome you all this morning, and to those who, to our patron, to our moderate contributor, to those who take upon their time to go on our website to read our published article there. And I encourage you to share the live, to subscribe. I encourage you to tell other people to subscribe to the channel as we have moved on to the WCC regular channel. So this is where we want to be for some time. All right. So before we get into it, I want to bring out a video from a former president of the United States, Jimmy Carter. All right. I want to bring out a video that we can watch, and then that will connect us to Burkina Faso, that will connect us to Mali, that will connect us to Niger, and that will connect us to the African continent. So let me pull that out as usual, how we start. Wait, what is? Let me see. Okay. Oh, all right. So there's a button here that can be able to invite. Okay, so I will have to do that in the future. All right, so all right, folks. So what I'm about to show here, right, it is a video of a former president, Jimmy Carter, exposing the United States. All right. So the issue here is, you know, when these folks are getting old, right, when their time is reaching to get expired, that's the time they come out with things that they have done. That's the time they come out with explanation of the United States, of the ill behavior of the United States government, what they have done around the world, and what they are still doing when they are about to get expired, when they are old and they have no life in them, but somehow they are still existing among the human race. That's the time they come out with their secret. That's the time they come out with things that they have done. So listening to this video here from a former president, Jimmy Carter, and by the way, this video is new. It's not old. He's just explaining what they have done around the world and things that they have done, especially when it comes to war. Who benefit from it? Okay, so let's listen to this and see here. So
Well, one of the greatest violations of human rights is the inability to live in peace. And if you go around the world and ask people which is the most warlike country on earth, which one do you think they would respond? The United States. Since we left the Second World War, and even before, but since we left the Second World War, the United States has been almost constantly at war in some part of the world. We've been in about 30 combats with different countries since the Second World War. Now we've just gotten involved in another. I can't say that all of them were mistaken to be done. I think the First World War, the Second World War were very worthwhile. Some of the ones have not proven to be well. So I would say that the military-industrial complex, that is, the manufacturers of all kinds of weapons, are very influential in the Congress and in the country as well. And so we know that they make a lot of profit when we are involved in buying weapons. And that includes submarines like I served on, or battleships like I served on, as well as tanks and armored vehicles and artillery and so forth. So this is something about which all Americans need to guard. I happen to be a Christian. Maybe many of you are as well. And we profess to worship the Prince of Peace, not the Prince of War. And I think whenever we have a chance as individual citizens to make a choice between going to war and trying to avoid armed conflict whenever it's possible, we ought to lean in that direction. When I was elected running against Gerald Ford, one question, for instance, that involved me and Gerald Ford together, in 1976, when we didn't know who was going to be elected, there was a big problem about whether the United States was going to build a B-1 bomber. And we agreed and announced publicly that no matter which one of us was elected, in June of 1977, our first 6 months in office, we would announce either to build or not build the B-1 bomber. And I happened to be elected. And in June, after studying it a lot, I announced we would not build the B-1 bomber, and we didn't. But they had planned it so that little parts of the B-1 bomber were built in all the congressional districts of the very important members of Congress. It's not an accident. And then when my successor came in office, I won't call his name, but he's from California, and his first name is Ronald. He said, we'll build a B-1 bomber anyway. So we built 100 of those and never used them. So that's how powerful the arms manufacturers can still be and influence Congress to build weapons that we don't need.
Okay, folks. So in there, that was Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, saying those rubbish coming from his mouth. Okay. And he said something like, whenever there's a war, the manufacturer of the arm or ammunition make profit. So it's a business, right? So in a nutshell, war is a business, and which of course we already know about it. But we play some of these things to bring it out to the public, especially to the African leaders, so that they can see it, all right? Because these are the leaders, the African leaders specific that I'm speaking to. They are the people sitting on the African continent and waiting for a European or Westerner or waiting for the United States to come and create a lot of bases on the African continent to fight for them, to fight for the African continent, because they love the African people so much. So they have to call the United States government to come and establish bases all on the African continent, right? They go to the European leaders, to the Queen or to the Prime Minister, invite them to come on the African continent, create bases on the African continent to protect African people, right? to fight Al-Qaeda or Jihadi or ISIS, right? How are you going to bring people on the African continent to protect you against the enemies, right? The enemies now is the Al-Qaeda, the ISIS, the Boko Haram, right? But these are the same people you bring it on a continent. These are the people who create or who created these groups. And these are the people who gave ammunition to these people. Because it is a business. Now you may say how it is a business on the African continent, right? It is a business on the African continent because everywhere these people go and sit and establish their bases, those are strategic areas that you have mineral resources. Okay? And in order to maintain the colonial rule of exploiting the African continent, you have to make that place, you have to destabilize that place, create chaos in that place, so that the people who focus on innovation, the people who focus on their raw material, all they will focus on is how to live, how to eat and live. And that is what happened in most part of the African nation. Okay? So you just heard it from Jimmy Carter himself, mouth. Okay? The reason why they create guns, the reason why they create ammunition is to make profit. And how do you make profit? Is to create war. Okay? It's just like the man who make the casket, the coffin, right? You pray for people to die because you cannot, how they call it, make a casket and nobody dying to put people in a casket for burial. You're not going to make profit. You're not going to make money, right? So you pray to God. Imagine there are people praying to God for people to die in order for their business to grow. Those are made casket, right? So it is the same way those are manufactured the ammunition, like how Jimmy Carter said it in his video. In order to make profit, they had to create war. How do you do that? You do that by creating enemies. You do that by creating access, Al-Qaeda or Boko Haram, and supporting them. Okay? So that they can come and buy your ammunition. And not only that, when they buy it and chaos going on in our region, they are there exploiting your resources. Okay? And Jimmy Carter said it. There is nowhere, in fact, and he said recently, they have gone to places. He's not going to name those places, but of course we know that's the Middle East. Of course we know that's Africa. They have gone to places, right, that they have carried war, and none of those wars have been productive. Okay? So I'm laying a premise here before we get to Burkina Faso. Because what we're going to read, the language they use in there, that is what exactly about to happen in Burkina Faso. Okay? Now, they should have done the same thing in Mali. But the mistake they did in Mali, they have recognized it. So they're not going to do the same thing in Burkina Faso. So when the French army left Mali, they did not put citizens together, even though they tried to do it, but it did not happen because they didn't do their homework good. So in Burkina Faso, they are trying to create two factions. And one of the factions will be the factions that will go against the Burkinabese army, or will go against the Burkinabese, okay? Their own people. And those are the people that the Western world will support with their ammunition. From the article we're coming to read here. Okay? But this is to the African nations. We will bring all these videos and we expose the West. We are doing it because you are the one in power and we just want you to take authority and protect the African continent. I don't care how the United States government or Marine can have millions of army on the African continent. I don't care how you can take the entire how they call the army of America here and put them to the African continent, they are not going to fight Boko Haram. They are not going to fight ISIS. They are not going to fight for the African people. And that goes to the European. You can take the entire European army and take them to the African continent. They are not going to fight for Africa. They are there to supply ammunition to the enemies. They are there to destabilize the African continents. They are not there to empower the African continent, because if they empower, there will be no way for them to explore the African continent to get their resources. So what is happening on the African continent? What just happened in Guinea? What just happened in Mali? What just happened in Niger? What just happened again in Burkina Faso? And what is even going on in Sudan? You African leaders, the only thing you guys know is to come to the Western world and do a lot of speeches. Is to come to the United Nations and give a lot of speeches. Is to come for diplomatic meeting. How can you come for diplomatic meeting outside of the African continent and nothing is being done on the African continent to secure peace? No African leaders should even come to the Western world for any meeting if they cannot solve the African problem on the African continent. Look at Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea, Sudan, Mali. See how things have been unfolding. War, chaos, no peace. Libya. That's how it's going to extend. That's how the war is extending on the African continent. So if you feel that today you are at peace in Africa, or your nation is at peace, your nation is not at peace. And that is why 1957, Kwame Nkrumah said, unless the entire African continent is free from colonial oppression or rules, the independence of Ghana is meaningless. Why he said that? Ghana will never enjoy peace or independence as long the other nations are not independent or are not at peace. So if you feel your nation is at peace today, just make sure your nation is not going to be at peace tomorrow. It's just a matter of time before it gets to you. The aim of these people is to destabilize the entire African continent. The more we wake up, the more it becomes a problem for them. And the more they work to keep us down. Let's continue here. So the next video we're going to watch is Burkina Faso. Okay? The coup that just happened in Burkina Faso. All right? So, and after that, we're going to go back to the article and then connect that to Jimmy Carter, what he said in his video, and see how Western narrative or media is trying to put the Burkinabés together. They have already created two factions already. They have been created. So what next to expect in Burkina Faso is not peace. It's war. It's chaos. So one group of people are going to be supported with ammunition. And this group is going to be in the favor of the Western world. Let's watch this video here.
All right, from the Russia-Ukraine war, let's now shift our attention to what is happening in West Africa, where Burkina Faso's self-declared leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has called for calm after violence erupted in the capital city of Ouagadougou. The Traoré supporters took part in the violent demonstrations in front of the French embassy, which they were accused of harboring the ousted leader Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. The Traoré was seen standing silently as the spokesperson announced that the situation had been brought under control, and the spokesperson also told the people to refrain from any acts of violence and vandalism against the French embassy or the French military base near the capital. The hundreds of Traoré supporters had gathered outside of the French embassy on Saturday after he said that it was in fact harboring the former ruler Damiba. Traoré had said that Damiba was in fact using the embassy as a base to stage a counter-offensive. His supporters had set the exterior walls of the French embassy ablaze and were seen hurling objects over the embassy's walls. The gunfire was heard across the capital. Now remember, Damiba had in fact come to power staging a coup of his own, and that was just earlier this year in the month of January, where he had taken charge of the country after accusing the earlier elected president, Roch Christian Kabore, of failing to beat the Islamist jihadist fighters. The Africa's Sahel region is battling the radical Islamist insurgency. The violence in the region has also led to a series of coups in countries like Mali, Guinea, and Chad. Now, there have been about 6 coups since the beginning of 2020. The groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have been carrying out attacks in countries like Burkina Faso since 2015, and also in the north and east of the country. Towns have been blockaded by insurgents who've blown up bridges and also attacked supply convoys. The more than 40% of the country now remains outside of the government control, and it is these paramilitary groups, these militia groups, who in fact now control large parts of Burkina Faso, especially in the Sahel region. And also the fact that the French forces had been deployed in Burkina Faso had been extremely unpopular within the people in Burkina Faso. Remember, France had in fact stepped in to try and battle the Islamist insurgency in the Sahel region. They entered into Burkina Faso sometime in 2014, 2015, and since then, earlier since this year, the French president has said that the French troops will, of course, pull out. The 34-year-old Traoré was previously the head of the anti-jihadist special forces unit called Cobra, and it remains to be seen as to how all this turmoil will in fact settle in Burkina Faso. Beyond is now available in your country.
All right, so that is Burkina Faso. And that was the French embassy. Look at the French embassy. Just like, they don't even care. Look at a whole France with all the billion of data, right? They take from the African nations. Look at their embassy. How dirty it is. Look at the street of the French embassy. Do you think they really care for development or to make a place look nice or to make Africa a better place? Look at the street where the French embassy is. Okay? When they have exploited millions, trillions of dollars from the African nations to build their nation or to build France. But look at the French embassy. Look at the street. No pavement, right? Dusted and dirty, right? They don't really care. But that's not my point, because we all know they're not going to develop Africa. But my point I want to make here is, I don't even care if the French embassy is being burned down, because they have done horrible things or worse things to the African people than to go burn some bricks house down. It means nothing to me. Okay? The people are just angry and frustrated with France's oppressive behavior in Burkina Faso. So burning it down is nothing to me. I care less to do with it. Because the French themselves, they got a lot of African blood on their hand. So burning a building down is nothing compared to the number, the thousands, the millions of Africans that have died because of France. Now, here is my point here. Watching that video, right? These are all civilians in there, went to fight. No military in there. They don't even have guns. They don't even have arms. They went in there with their hands. That tells you how hungry these people are for peace. Okay? How hungry these people are for France to just leave their nation. That tells you how hungry these people are to be independent, to be self-determination, okay? To make decisions for themselves. That tells you how hungry they are. That tells you how frustrated they are with France. We're not looking at the building. We're not looking at the building because what France have taken from Africa, that building is not even near or compared to what they have taken from us. Okay? Look at embassy. Look at the street of the embassy. All right? That tells you how frustrated these people are. All right? So where are the human rights advocates? Are they going to say, oh, why the Burkina Faso are burning down the French embassy, are destroying the French embassy and so forth and things? Let me see any human rights advocate, so-called human rights advocate, to come out to speak for France. Let me see it. And that's the time we will make them to understand what human rights is. That's the time we will make them to understand all along why you didn't speak. Why you didn't speak when the people are being frustrated. Let me see the so-called human rights advocate. Let me see the so-called United Nations, or how they call it, or neo-colonialist United Nations employee that will come and stand and say why the French embassy was burned down or destroyed. That was against human rights. Let me see them to come and say it. Because I know we have some neo-colonialists out there, black faces, who will come to defend their master. Let me see that particular neo-colonialist. Let me see that slave that will come out to defend your master and not try to understand the reason or the frustration of the people. I know there are one out there, there are two, there are three, there are four that will come to defend their master, their colonial master. And we are waiting for such people to come out. I dare you to come out to want to defend the French, to say, why destroy the French embassy? That was not the right procedure. Okay, we're waiting for you. And then we want you to come and tell us what is the right procedure so that the next time the French embassy won't be destroyed. We're waiting for you because I know you are out there. Come out, okay? Come and speak. We're waiting for you to come and speak. And then that's the time you will see us and we will tell you how human rights supposed to be practiced. Okay? How human rights supposed to be advocated. And that's the time we will tell you Africans are humans. Okay? When you are protecting your master, we will tell you, we African, we are human. All right? And when we say we are fed up with people and we want them to leave, it is our right for them to leave. If they don't leave, by any means necessary, we will find a way to tell them we don't want you. Okay? It is part of human right. If someone tells you they don't need you, pack your bag and leave. That's human right. Okay? So we are waiting for anybody who will come and speak for the United Nations because we know they're going to use another black man to come and speak. So we wait on you to come. All right? We wait on you. Now, after that have taken place in a video there, for me, I did not see any military men in there. All right? Now, I am making these points, right? Because of the article we are about to read. From that video, I did not see any military men in there. All I saw was all civilian. Okay? Was all civilian carry on their frustration. Was all civilian expressing their frustration with France. Okay? In the country. There was no military in there, all right? Now let's get to the article. Now, this article here, right? It says CNBCA. That's a CNBC Africa, all right? So it's an European, anyway, news channel in Africa, right? Or let's say America here, right? But here it is, folks. Just because they are on the African continent, that doesn't mean they are for the African continent and they are going to report in favor of the African continent. All right. Now, in this article here, right, like I said, we wait on the neo-colonialists that will come to defend their colonialists, that will come to defend France against the action of the African people. We are not looking at what the African people did. We are not looking at what the Burkinabe did. We are not looking at that. What we are looking at is what led to what happened. What was the reason for this to happen? The frustration of the people is what we're looking at. The concern, the anger of the people is what we're looking at. We are not looking at whether the French embassy was bombed or was burned down. No, we are looking at what led to that. But we know the neo-colonialists, they won't look at that. They will come and focus on the action that happened. We are not looking at the action, okay? We are looking at what happened before it went to that action or it went to that land. What was the trigger? All right? That's what we're looking at. So, in here they say, Burkina Faso president resign on condition coup leader guarantee his safety. All right? Coup leader guarantee his safety. Now, let's read further down. We're going to read further down a little bit, and then before we get to where I want to make my point. Ouagadougou, right? The capital city, right? Ouagadougou. Burkina Faso self-declare. Okay, so that is what, that in fact, this report here is a Western report, okay? So Burkina Faso self-declare, right? Now, who's supposed to, my question here is, who's supposed to declare if not the Burkinabe themselves? Okay? If not the Burkinabe themselves, who's supposed to declare it? The Western world, America, United States, Great Britain, France? Who? Germany? Before it can be known to say it is serious? Burkinabe or Burkina Faso self-declared military, and that's how I'm going to read it. Burkina Faso military leader. That's what it's supposed to say. I mean, it's supposed to say, not self-declared. All right? Now, Burkina Faso military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has accepted a condition resignation offer by President Paul Henri Damiba to avoid further violence after Friday coup, religious and traditional leader said on Saturday. First of all, let me say this. This statement did not come from the coup leader. If there is any means or to get the relevant information, are you not going to get it from the leader of the coup? But you get the information from religious leader, traditional leader. So are they telling us that these religious or traditional leaders were the one that carried on the coup? Were the people that behind the coup? I don't know, but let them tell us something. Okay? The main people or the main person to get the information from about this, whether it has been an agreement, is supposed to come from the coup leader, not religious leader. All right? Because I believe religious leaders were not there when the coup was going on. But let's continue here. According to the deal announced at a press conference, Traoré had agreed to 7 conditions, including a guarantee of the member's safety and the security of soldiers who back him, and the honoring of promises made to the West Africa global bloc to return to constitutional rule by July 24. First of all, let me say this. If the coup leader wanted to kill the former president, they could have done it. Okay? So this is not an agreement to spare the life of the former president. The life of the former president had already been spared. All right? So what I want to say here is Western media shouldn't come to change the narrative. All right? That the only reason why the former president was not killed because there was an agreement. The coup leader did not want to kill the former president, and that's why he's alive. Okay? So we will give him that praise that he did not kill another African leader. But at least the coup was successful, remove him from power, okay? And let him go. Do not kill him. So Western leader or Western media shouldn't come to change the narrative because they never ever give the credit to African leaders, okay? They always want to take the credit. But that's not my point. I'm just putting this out. My point, I'm going to get to my point. I'm just pointing this out, okay? Now, the member could not be reached for comment. Now, everything that is being said here from the Western media, right? None of these things they said here actually came from the coup leader, neither the president that was overthrown, the member, okay? So they did not interview the member to get his side of whether there was agreement made to spare his life, right? No, they did not get to the coup leader, Torari, to get his side, whether there was a agreement made to spare his life or anything of that kind. So all they're saying here is they say, okay, and something that they think in their mind to put together. The reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to build out something. It's a story. They're trying to write a story, right? And it is from this story. They're going to keep this story and then form a group, sponsor that group, okay? But we're going to come to that. I don't want to go ahead of what I'm reading here. I'm going to take my time. I don't want to go ahead, right? Be with me. Now, the member could not be reached to come for comment. A close family member told the reporter he left the country on Sunday. Now, if this man left the country, right, then why are they telling us that there was an agreement, a conference made to spare this man's life? Okay? There was an agreement made to spare this man's life if this man had fled the country already. And they said against 7 conditions. They agreed on 7 conditions to spare his life. Folks, what I want to say here is the former president did not escape Burkina Faso by himself. The former president escaped Burkina Faso by the help of Western influence, by the help of France. And that is why when you saw citizens went to the French embassy, stoning the French embassy, burning the French embassy, that was where the frustration came from. Folks, listen here. I'm reading here, right? I'm explaining something to you here. Okay? But the Western media have to come out with a narrative to make it seem that nobody, no Western here was involved in making the president to escape. Because this president was a Western puppet. So they have to protect him. Okay? They have to protect their puppet. Are you getting the narrative here? Are you getting the story here? Okay? Are you getting it here? So the citizen recognized that Mr. the member escaped the country by outside influence. And that outside influence could have been the French. This is where the citizen got angry and went to the French embassy. But what they're trying to do here is, in this article here, they try to put the blame on the coup leader that he made the citizens to go to stone the French embassy, to bring down the French embassy, folks. Let's stay here, because this is how they're going to come out with story to indict this guy, to indict the coup leader Traoré, to indict him. Look, these colonialists, they are working, and they are going to fool the African leaders to go against Traoré. So you see the narrative they are creating here already, right? You see the narrative they are already creating here. You see their evidence they are creating here, right? You see it already. This is what they're going to do. All right? So let's continue here. Let's continue here. Traoré said earlier that order was being restored after violent protests against the French embassy, and they are fighting as his fashion move to topple the government. All right? So you see here, right? Now, Traoré is saying he restored order after citizens win. Because what they're trying to do here, right? What the Western media is trying to do here, like I said, they're trying to put the blame on the coup leader that he sent people to go to bring down the French embassy. And they want to bring crime against him. So they are creating a story right now. Okay, they are putting their story together. But while they are doing that, this is the coup leader. He said he ordered the people to restore peace. He did not order the people to go to the embassy, but rather he even ordered the people to stop burning down the French embassy, to stop stoning the French embassy. He put the people together to restore peace, to stop the people. Okay? You listen to it, right? So these are two statements already here. Traoré is saying he had no idea how the people went to the French embassy, and which is true. The people went there by themselves. He never sent them there. Okay? But the Western media are putting a story together for what they are about to do tomorrow against their school leader, because they are already angry that they are colonialists. They are already angry that France is in another trouble in Burkina Faso. Okay? Now, split. Listen to this. So this is where the Westerners, okay, are forming the groups, and the group have already been formed. One group is the Burkinabese, like the Burkinabese authority, okay, those that are on the side of Traoré, and then the other group are army personnel that were close to the president, okay. So they are going to use those people and also recruit other people to join them. And these are the people that they're going to supply with ammunition. Okay? So there is not going to be peace in Burkina Faso. I'm telling you this today. Until the African leaders can wake up and come together, there is not going to be peace in Burkina Faso. It's not going to be easy, folks. The African continent is in another chaos. The African continent is in another chaos of colonialism. The African continent is in another chaos of exploitation. The African continent is in another chaos. We have gone back to the 1884 Berlin Conference. Listen to this. Splits have emerged within the army. You see this already, right? Splits have emerged within the army. How these people got to know that split have emerged within the army. The coup just happened. How they got to know all this information? The incident just happened. How they got to know all this information? That the army has split. How they got to know all these things? They got the information first, even before the citizen in the country. How they got to know this? Well, let's stay here. Split have emerged within the army, with many soldiers appearing to seek Russian support as the influence of former colonial power France wants. That means the power of France in Burkina Faso have weakened. At least 3 separate videos. Now you see right here, right? So like I said, they are building their evidence against the coup leader. They are building their evidence that they will take to the African leaders. Man, whew. It's not easy, man. Like, sometimes I just get frustrated with the African leaders. For real, man. I get frustrated. Because these Westerners will sit down and create their story and then take it to the African leaders. And then tell the African leaders what needs to be done. And the African leaders will gather and go do it and implement it. Look at the nonsense that they are coming up with here. And this is what they're going to give to the African leaders. And the African leaders are going to rely on this. And they'll go against Burkina Faso. Just how currently, how ECOWAS, how the Western leaders sat down and wrote what needs to be done against Guinea. And then they took it to ECOWAS. ECOWAS went and put sanctions on Guinea. How stupid can that be? Let's read here. At least 3 separate videos have been showing online on Saturday and Sunday, showing soldier on top announced. Soldier on top ammo personnel carrier waving Russian flag while the crowd around claim or chanted Russia, Russia. Reuters has not verified the video. That means the reporter. The reporter have not verified the video. Now, if you have not verified the video, why then come out to give information? Why then come out to give news if you are not verified to see what was going on or what went on or what was said? Let's continue here. But this is the evidence that they are building on here, right? And they're going to take this and give it to the African leaders. And the African leader will not do their own investigation. The African leader will not say, let us come together. This is about Africa. This is not about Europe coming telling us what to do. This is not about America coming telling us what to do. This is about we African. The African leader won't say, you know something, I don't even know. Look, let me say this. African leaders, just how President Biden is a leader, is a president, you are president. You are not a lesser president. You are not a lesser leader. Can't you get that? You are not a lesser president. You are not a lesser leader. If President Biden get authority, you have authority. The same authority they got, you have it. The same leadership motto they have, you have the same leadership motto. Other European leader, they are not a superior leader over you. They are not the judges over you or over the African continent. EU is not a judge for the African continent. Or EU is not a judge for AU. That anything EU come and tell AU, that's what AU should do. Or anything they tell ECOWAS, that's what ECOWAS should do. Let's continue here. Traoré team, the coup leader now. Traoré team urged people to have attack on the French embassy. Now you see here, now like I said, you see what the Western media is doing right here. Now you see what the Westerners are doing. You see what the French are doing. Okay? Now they are putting the blame on Traoré, on the coup leader. Okay? Now let me say this first of all. Just how Jimmy Carter said, whenever there is a war, just how Jimmy Carter said, war is a recipe for investment of the Western world, where is a recipe for capital growth for those that manufacture weapons. Okay? It is in the same way, coup is a recipe for disaster. It is in the same way, coup is a recipe for disaster. Anybody can suffer in coup. Anybody can suffer. Anybody can die. Anything can be burned down. Anything can be taken down. So you see what they are doing right here at this moment. You see what they are doing right here at this moment. Okay? So they said Traoré team urged people, the Burkina, the citizen, to have attack on the French embassy, targeted by protesters, after an officer said France has shot the member at a French military base in a West African country, and that he was planning a counter-offensive. Now, right here, it is a propaganda. You see, these Westerners, they are not up for peace in Africa. They are not up for peace in Africa. They are putting more gas or more fuel to the problem. They are not looking at the frustration of the people. They are not looking at the concern of the people. But they are off. They are after their interests. Now, they say here, right? Who was that officer? Today's reporter now, because the reporter said Traoré team urged people to have attack on the French embassy, targeted by protesters, after an officer said, now who was that officer? First of all, the video that we watch, did we see any officer in there? So today's reporter, who was that officer? What's the name of that officer? Well, again, we understand there was no officer interview here, but they are coming out with their story so that they can use in court. Because I know at the end of the day, only African leaders can come to Western court for judgment. Only African people know how to commit crime. But the Western leaders do not commit crime. So they do not go to court. They don't commit crime. They are not criminal. Only African leaders are criminal, or only Africans are criminals. So at the end of the day, they have to come to Western court to be judged, to be on trial. But no Westerner can ever go to court for crime committed against African people, because no, they are not criminal. Western people, they are not criminal. They can never be criminal. But I don't blame them. I blame the African leaders who can take responsibility on the African continent to solve their own problem, but always want to listen to the enemies. And that's how they're going to be treated until they can come to their senses. But these people already betting their case right here. They could just happen. But you see how swift and quick these people are to start betting their cases. And that is what they are doing right now. It is not about carrying peace in Burkina Faso. It is not about carrying peace in Mali. It is not about carrying peace in Guinea. It is not about carrying peace in Niger. It is not about carrying peace in Sudan. Let's continue here. The French foreign minister denied the base has hosted the member after his outstart on Friday. The member also denied he was at the base. Now, first of all, let's see right here, right? This reporter, right? They are flopping. Let's see what they say here. Hopefully, I see it quick. Let's see what they say here. Okay, they said the member could not be reached for comment. That means the member, they was unable to get to the member, the former president. They was unable to get to him, to interview him, right? To ask him, right? So they could not reach him. Then how then in here, they said, how then in here, where is it? Let me see. Okay, how it is then in here, they said, the member also denied. So if they could not reach him here, then how it is they was able to reach him to get statement from me here. There are the same people that said right here, the member could not be reached for comment. The member could not be reached for interview. The member could not be reached for statement. The member could not be reached for an interaction. Then how them it is here, where it is? How then it is here, they say the member also denied. Then where did they get this information from? If this man could not be reached, if they couldn't interact with this man, if they couldn't interview this man, how then it is here, they say he denied that he was at the French embassy. You see this? You see how the Westerners are the problem to Africa? You see how these people are still colonialist? You see why we're not supposed to try these people? You see why anybody, all the countries that took part in enslaving African people, you see the reason why we now need to do business with them? They are our enemies. They are not allies to us. You see the reason why all the people, all the nations that colonize the African continent, they are not people that we need to ally with. They are our enemies. They were our enemies. They are our enemies, and they will be our enemies. We should get that. I know it is the hard truth. Most people don't want to talk about it, but it is the truth. The attitude and behavior of these people never change. It will never change. In one statement, they was unable to get him. In another statement, they now got him because they are trying to put their story together. You see, folks, what is going on here? So they said the member also denied he was at the French embassy, saying the reports were a deliberate manipulation of public opinion. They did not get him here for statement, but they got him here for statement. You see that? So you see how these people are operating, right? So in the first place, they already have two factions in Burkina Faso already. The coup just happened, but there are two factions already in Burkina Faso. So that means they have already created another set of Africans to give them ammunition, and those Africans will have the upper edge over the other African who do not have Western support. But the other army that have Western support will be the people to go and start killing people and start shooting people, to go and carry another coup. What that means here, folks? The other army personnel that have Western support, those are the people that in the future going to become leader of that continent, or that's another continent of that nation. And what that means is a French puppet have been put in power, nothing changed. So you see how they have built their case here in 2 or 3 days' times. But we were able to get the article because we are on top of things to bring them to light. So you see here, right? when they were building their case here, because if they were going to say, we talked to the member here, it was going to go against them, okay? Because the case they was putting here, they were putting a case against the coup leader, Traoré. Okay? Because while putting a case together here, they have to say they did not speak to the ex-president. Because they were putting a case together in a sense that to say that Traoré sent the citizens to go bomb the French embassy, to go destroy the French embassy, and so forth and so things. That's the story they're putting together here. But in one statement, they didn't talk to him. In another statement, they talked to him. So the reason why they said they talked to him here, to confirm it that, okay, Traoré sent the people, the citizens, to the French embassy, but the member was not at the French embassy. So now they are saying here, we even spoke to the member, and the member confirmed that he was not at the French embassy. So that means Traoré was wrong. He had to be here guilty. He had to be here accountable for allowing people to go to the French embassy to destroy the French embassy. Let's continue here. In court, we want to inform the population that the situation is under control and order is being restored. An army officer said in a statement broadcast on national television. Now, who was this army officer again? No name of this army officer. But listen, when they were about to put an allegation against Traoré, they mentioned Traoré name, right? Now, they mentioned Traoré name. And everything Traoré said, they quote it, they put it there, right? But here's another quote. They put here, no army officer name. Who said this? Nobody know. Who did they interview? Who did they talk to? Nobody know. Another statement said, Traoré. Now, this is Traoré now, right? So you see, everything that Traoré said, they brought it and they said Traoré said. Another statement said, Traoré will continue to act as president until a transitional civilian or military president is designated in the coming weeks. So who was this person? If you are talking to a high-rank military personnel, you should know this name of this person. But folks, listen. What did they start with here first? So this is why you know these things is propaganda. They started with traditional people, right? What did they say here? They say here, Burkina Faso self-declared military leader Captain Ibrahim Traoré had accepted a constitutional resignation offer by President Paul Henri Demiba. Now, this man was not in the country, right? So how did he offer a statement to the coup leader if he was not in the country? Because according to the statement we read here, the ex-president was not in the country and he was not to the French embassy. Then, and the reporter said here, they did not get to him right here. They were unable, right? They were unable to reach him, the ex-president. So then, how did they get the statement from this man to the coup leader? How did it happen? Fallacy, propaganda, not real. Okay? Not real. So, folks, you see what is going on the African continent. This could just happen. But now you see how the Western media or how the Western world are putting their story together. And this is why exactly they're going to use and take to the African continent and give it to the African leaders. And the African leaders are going to use that to take demand, to carry on the order. African leaders are going to use that to execute their plan. You see it? African leaders are going to use that to execute the plan. So the African leader, they're not going to do no investigation. They're not going to do nothing. They're going to sit and wait. In fact, as I can tell you right now, they're waiting for a statement to come from Europe or America. And then before they can take action. And this is what they are doing already. Their coup just happened. But how did they get to know that there are already 2 warring factions in Burkina Faso? How did they get to know all of this already? And in one statement, they did not interview, they did not talk, or they did not interact with the ex-president. And then in the same article, they are saying the ex-president denied that he was at the French embassy. You just told all, you never talked to him. Then how you get to know that he told you he was not at the French embassy? When you just told all, you never talked to him. You are unable to reach him. Folks, we're in trouble. And I say this to say that the African leaders will not do anything. And that's the frustrating part about it. They are not going to do anything. That is why it is so frustrating. They're going to sit and wait for statement to come from NATO, statement to come from EU, and then before they act. That is why the outside world don't respect them. Because they can solve their own problem. That's the bottom line. So, folks, this is what's happening in Burkina Faso, and this is what we are going to expect. Peace is not going to be restored in Burkina Faso. I'm telling you. The mistake they did in Mali by not creating other faction, by not putting the Malians together, they're not going to do that same mistake in Burkina Faso. They're going to make sure to put the citizens together to fight. And then the faction that will be in the interest of the West will support them with ammunition, and they will have edge over the other people. For that is why, first of all, they made a claim to say one faction was chanting Russia, Russia, Russia. You see that? African leaders, please, we beg you people. Enough is enough. How long are you guys going to sit and watch the West, the colonizer, the enslaver take advantage of us? How long? How long are you going to look at individual nation in Africa and you claim it to be your nation? When the African continent is falling apart, when the African continent is going back those days, how long? Enough is enough. Please, we beg you people. Please, please, we beg the African leaders, we beg you people. Please, we beg you people. Please. Please. Please come together. Please put the African nation together. Please solve the African problem. We want peace. We want peace in Sudan. We want peace in Niger. We want peace in Burkina Faso. We want peace in Mali. We want peace in Guinea. We want peace in DRC Congo. We want peace on the African continent. Please, we beg you people. African leaders, please, we beg you people. Nobody coming to save the African continent. Joe Biden is not going to save the African continent. The Prime Minister of Great Britain is not going to save the African continent. Nobody, the Prime Minister of Germany, nobody is going to save the African continent. You can take all the French military and carry them to the African continent, all the American military to the African continent, All of them, they are not going to fight for us. They are not going to save us. Please, African leaders, we beg you. We beg you, come together and save the continent. Please, we beg you, people. Before I end here, right? Today is just going to be on Burkina Faso. But as you can see, it's not just Burkina Faso. It's rest of the African continent. Because France is going to do everything. Because this is how independent Africa started. It started from Haiti. From Haiti, it came to Ghana, 1957. And from there, that's how it started picking up. So the colonialists, they know that what happened in Mali is going to continue. Where people are going to stand up to fight. So they are not going to allow it. So African leader, that is why history is so important. Please don't forget about history. Please, you do not have Allah with these colonialists, with these enslavers. They are not your Allah. Please get this today. Your Allah is the African continent. That's it. Your Allah are the African overseas who are also fighting for liberation. Those are your Allahs. Nothing less, nothing more. You have no Allah. Let's watch the last video here and we'll call it for a day. What I'm about to show here, folks, is a video from Claude Delay, an Irish parliamentarian. Okay, statement. And folks, let me say this, especially to the African leaders. If Europe is being exposed, if America is being exposed, and you still sit and do nothing, then I don't know who you are, man. And the reason why these people, because last week we talked about the Italian Prime Minister exposing France in Africa. And this week is about an Irish member of parliament exposing Europe and the West. Now, these nations that are coming out to expose Europe and the West, in some instances, the reason why they are doing it, they are not benefiting from Africa. I'm telling you this. They are not benefiting from Africa. And even if Africa is to be colonized, recolonized, they will not benefit. They will not be part of that recolonization of the African continent. So that is why they are coming out exposing them. Let's watch this.
I don't think you'd have to be a genius to know that the last thing the Horn of Africa needs is more foreign military bases, more weapons, and more European meddling. What we call our strategic relationship isn't about human flourishing. It's about the EU's ambitions as a superpower. There's now a new great game in the Horn of Africa. Greater and lesser powers are pockmarking the place with military bases. France, the US, China, Germany, Japan, Italy, Saudi Arabia all have a presence in the tiny area of Djibouti alone. Mercenaries are swarming in from all quarters. The entire region is being militarized. War is in the air. And what about the people facing climate and food insecurity? None of this benefits them. We talk about instability, but we only make it worse. We flood the place with weapons, hand over the profits to European arms companies, and charge the bill to our citizens. And then with the carnage, we go back in and we do it all again. It's a racket. Strategic relationship, it's one thing after another, isn't it? Really, it's the same as it ever was. And all I can say is, God save Africa from Europeans offering help. But the truth is, it's a million miles from the reality of EU-Africa trade policy as it exists now, because our economic relations with Africa are simply a continuation of European colonialism, perpetuating exploitation by other means. Africa trades more with Europe than it does with itself. It's portrayed as a poor continent, but actually it's the richest. It's just that the people there are denied the fruits of their land and their labour by unequal economic relations, by unfair trade rules, by illicit capital flights into the Western banks, and by multinational corporations allowed off the leash by Washington, London and Brussels.
All right, folks. That's the last video for today. We're not going to take long here. Today is just about Burkina Faso. Just from this last video we watched, right? At least it's not coming from an African mouth. It's not coming from my mouth. Okay? It's coming from someone who is in Europe that said this. And this goes to the African leaders. Because no matter how we come here and sit and talk, at the end of the day, we look up to them to make decisions that will affect the daily life of African, of Black people. Look at what this lady said. I don't even want to go beyond to say anything else. Okay? I don't think I can explain more than what she said, because we have said this over and over to the African leaders. We have no allies. America is not Africa ally. Europe is not Africa ally. Africa ally is the African continent, is the African nation, and African people worldwide who feel connection to the African continent, who feel they are African people, who want to see the African continent totally liberated and African people totally liberated. Those are our allies. Nothing less, nothing more. We have no ally in the world. The nation that colonized you, that your ally. The nation that enslaved you are your ally. The nation that sat down in meeting to make sure for you to be in a condition you are in, for you to be in it forever, so that they can continue to exploit you, are your ally. A nation that sat down in a meeting, 1884 Berlin Conference, are your ally. And up to now, some of those manuscripts that was created against you, you can't even see it, where they put it, because there was something put in those things, in those manuscripts, in those scripts, that they don't even want you to see. But they can go and see it and get ideas from there and recalibrate and come out with another idea on how to screen you, on how to scour you. You make them your ally. People that run propaganda against you, people that never talk of the good of Africa, they never talk about the goodness of Africa, are your allies. People that look at you as not a leader, people that look at you that nothing good can come from Africa, but they continue to exploit Africa, are your allies. We have no ally. And the lady said it clear. Africa, you have no ally. No matter how you can trade with Europe and America, no matter how you can bring all your resources and give it to them, they are not your ally. That's what she was saying. No matter how you can neglect your people to satisfy America and Europe, they will never be your ally. So keep neglecting your people. No matter how you can neglect the African continent. Take all your gold, your diamond, and bring it to Europe and America, they will never be your ally. You can take all your money and come and bank it into the Swiss bank or into Bank of America or in the American bank or European banks or Barclays bank. They will never be your ally. And at the end of the day you say no to them, they seize your account. They put a hold on your account. And that money will never go to your family. That money will go to them, will go to their economy. And you know what they will do with that money? They will use that money to send their kids to schools. They will use that same money and create scholarships for their children overseas. You African leaders, why you think they have a lot of scholarship overseas? It is some of you people money that is seized that you can't get back. And they take that same money and send it to various schools as scholarship for the European children to go to school, for Western children to go to school. It is the African money. Because you do not want to have a one national bank on the African continent. You want to be corrupt. You do not want for African people to question you. And you take your money and bring it and put it into Western bank. And the day you say no to them, they put charges against you, allegation against you, and they seize your money. They seize your account. And when they seize it, what they do? They take it and carry it to various schools and say scholarships. They donate it to various schools and say scholarship. So no matter how you can neglect the African continent, you have no ally. You will never be an ally to these people. In your eyes, you will always be a colony. In your eye, you will always be a slave. In your eyes, you will always be a nigger. You think they give you some recognition, you come on in your country and then they give you pulpit or they give you platform, you stand and speak? You think that ought to it? They use that means to get you. And that's what this lady said. That Irish lady said. And she's making it clear to us. Europe continued to explore the African continent, but the African leaders continue to sit down. I heard the way other people are saying that the African leaders don't have time. They have no ears to hear. But just wait. Tomorrow they're going to call them for meeting. They'll always be running. They'll always run to come. It is not about that. It is enough. Enough is enough. Sit down on your African continent and solve your problem. You don't have to travel. If you want to travel, that's fine. But don't travel to come because Biden is calling you. You are also a leader just Biden. Biden is not more than you. In the reality, you are even more than Biden. Because what you have, that's what Biden won for his country. What you have, that's what the British Prime Minister won for his or her country. What you want, that's what the German Prime Minister won for his or her country. So in reality, you are more than them. In reality, without you, they can survive. So you are more than them. You are more valuable than them because you have not realized it and you don't know. In reality, you should be more respected than any world leader. You should. And that is why this lady make it clear. What this lady is trying to say in the video is, you African nations should trade among yourself. You should have continental trade among yourself. What she was trying to say is, start taking your resources, bringing it to Europe and America, because it is your resources that making it to be superpower, that making it to have edge over you, that making it to control you. So do it on the African continent. That's all she was trying to say. But oh God, African leaders, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Please, African leaders, we want you guys to wake up. For real. Lead as a leader. Y'all put the nations together. Y'all put Africa together. So that the next generation of African will come and see a place. That's why Africa, that continent can be recolonized again. Because as it stands, it is what it is. As it stands. Because you people wait for the Western world to come and tell you. And that's how it was done during colonial time. All the rules and regulations on the African continent came from Europe, came from America. And then take it there and then they implement it. And you guys are doing the same thing in this time period. And then you call that an independent nations? Because you're still waiting for the West to make decision. You're still waiting for them to come and tell you the right thing to be done. You're still waiting. Is that an independent nation? Is that an independent continent? Then why should we even be celebrating independent nation? Why should we even be celebrating Independence Day on the African continent? Then we should be asking ourselves what independence is. Who did we get independent from? We should be asking ourselves. We should. My point here is to the African leaders. We have no ally. Our ally is ourselves. Our freedom comes from ourselves. Our determination comes from ourselves. Let me make this clear. There is no ally in the world. Period. Let me make that clear here. There is no ally in the world. America does not have ally. Let me tell you now. America don't have ally. Europe don't have ally. You see what is going on? You saw what the Italian Prime Minister did to Macron. They do not have ally. If they cannot agree on one common interest, they don't have ally. If what you have interest in don't benefit me, they're not going to have ally. They're not going to collaborate. There's no ally. That will make that clear today. China does not have ally. They can only get in an agreement. And that agreement is, if I can benefit, that's it. No ally. Nobody like to you say there is ally. No ally. You see, Australia, one of the things I noticed about Australia, all the Norse people crossing around. Do you really hear about Australia? Do you really hear about Australia? Another continent. Do you really hear about them? No. Because they do their thing. No ally in the world. No ally. Well, if I where that ally Benin came from, where it came from? Where that ally came from? That ally came from the same colonizer. That ally came from the same colonizer. When they were about to go on the African continent, 1884, to colonize the African continent, this is where that ally came from. They were never ally. This is where that ally came from. Because they recognized that if they can't come together, they will not succeed on the African continent to colonize us, because they were already there. Which of course we have already talked about it before. They were already on the African continent. The 1884 Berlin Conference was just a conference to defend their interests. It was just a conference to defend their boundary. Who is here? Who is here? Don't come here. But they were already there. But they were not succeeding because they were divided. So that was where that Allah Bene came from. But there was nothing in Allah. What existed before was business. You make business with me, I do business with you. We exchange. Battle system. That was what existed. I see something I wanted, I give it to you. I give something that you want, that you don't have. And then I take something from you that I want, that I don't have. Battle system. That's how people live before the 1884 Berlin Conference. So that 1884 Berlin Conference, there where Allah Bene came from. So there is no Allah. So we do not have Allah. Don't allow anybody to come and lie to you. America come and lie to you, say, we are Allah. We have. When did America and Africa start having great partner, great relationship? Tell me. When? America and Africa have never had any great relationship. You just heard from Jimmy Carter what he said about war. What he said. If you ask anybody, the nation that created more war in a war is the United States. He said it. So we have never had Allah. America is not an Allah to Africa. Europe is not an Allah to Africa. It's not. They were not. And we are still not. No Allah. So let them stop lying to you, telling you we have great Allah, we have great relationship. No relationship. What was the relationship before? They are saying we have great relationship. If America come and tell Africa we have great relationship, what was our relationship about? If Europe come and tell Africa we have great relationship, what was our great relationship? We have never. And history has proven to us that we have never had a great relationship. That is why they want to forget about the history, about the past, what they have done to us. That is why they want to forget about it. Because if we go into it, we have had never good relationship. We have had never partnership. No good partnership. No good Allah. We have never been Allah if we go into history. That is why they keep suppressing the African history. Because we have never. So African leaders, no more. America shouldn't come and be lying to you that we are Allah. They don't have Allah. They are not allying with you. Europe shouldn't come and lie to you. No Allah. It is about time we get that clear. There is no globalism. Okay? It sounds nice on paper, but there's nothing a globalist or globalism. It don't exist. One typical example, let's just look at the Ukraine war. You see how the Ukrainian refugees are being treated. Look how the Ukrainian refugees are being treated. And see how African refugees being treated. Look around. Look in the world. Do you have any refugee camp where the Ukrainians are? Where they created a special refugee camp? Where the Ukrainians are, where they carry corn to them? Do you have it there? Where WFP is going there? Do you have it? Do you have a specific place where WFP is there, where United Nations is there, where Ukrainian, they just want to put a Ukrainian there as refugee, and they got a WFP carrying food there, carrying corn, carrying agro, carrying these things. Do you have it there? I don't want to go far. I'll stop here for today. I will see you all tomorrow on tomorrow's show and next week Saturday. But this is what I have to give today to the war. And when I say the war, I mean African people. So that's it. So this is what we're going to expect in Mali, in Burkina Faso. Okay? Peace is not going to be there anytime soon. I'm telling you. Peace is not going to be in Burkina Faso anytime soon. Because the West have already created two different factions. They already have their faction that they support already. And these are the people they're going to give the ammunition to. They're not going to let the will of the people to prevail in Burkina Faso. It's not going to happen. Then what is the Allah? If you cannot allow the will of the people to prevail, what is the Allah in there? Folks, that's it. That's Burkina Faso. It's sorry to say, we will just say it and let the African leaders aware, and so that they can take measure. If they can, I don't know. But that's what's going to happen in Burkina Faso. Peace is not going to be there anytime soon. I'm sorry to say this, but that's it. Peace is not going to be there anytime soon. I will see you all tomorrow.